Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where we do and talk all things fitness. If you guys follow me on Instagram, then you know that I spent the last month as a vegetarian, and I'm so excited to share with you guys all my experiences because I saw some changes in my body, but more importantly, I discovered a lot about myself on a personal level, which I think is going to change the way I approach nutrition in the future. So if you're interested in trying out vegetarianism, or you're just curious how my experience went, then keep on watching. All right, so why did I decide to try out vegetarianism? I won't go into all the nitty-gritty details, but I will say that my choice was inspired by watching What the Health on Netflix. And if you haven't watched this film, I really encourage you to watch it because it's really eye-opening. In this documentary, there are three major points that were made that really stuck out to me. First, that big meat and dairy corporations fund a lot of the studies that promote the idea that it's healthy to eat meat. And moreover, a lot of these corporations give money to a lot of the health organizations in the US, like the American Diabetes Association, which affects what health advice and food advice these associations give the American people. Second is that meat, and particularly red meat, has been found to strongly correlate with the development of cancers and diabetes. And the third interesting point is the addictive quality of meat. There are a lot of drugs and other drug-like chemicals contained in meat that make people crave it, make them addicted and wanting more, which is a point we'll get back to. But if you want to know more about the specifics of why I think eating a more vegetarian diet is healthier, then let me know in the comments below. All right, so in the beginning of this vegetarian journey, I was super energized, super motivated. If you saw me on Instagram, I was like posting all the time my vegetarian meals. I was trying out new dishes. I tried tofu, which I am a very picky person and will not eat something usually if it looks gross. So I always avoided it, but I tried it in a delicious recipe and loved it. And within the first 1 or 2 days, I felt an immediate difference. I felt lighter, I felt more energized from the food that I was eating, and my body just felt like it was working more efficiently, like it was an engine that was running better. The only thing that sucked though was the bloating, which was for real. If you've looked into becoming a vegetarian, you've probably seen many people complain about this, and that is because there is often an increase of eating veggies and not controlling the fiber intake, and so just a lot of gas builds up. But I found that laying down and putting a hot pad on your stomach really helps. And once I controlled the veggie intake, things got better for sure. So everything was all good. First couple weeks, super motivated. But then within a few weeks, I lost the inspiration a bit. Not that I quit and ate meat, but I was less inspired. And you guys have probably experienced this at some point of your life. Maybe, working out, you're super motivated to wake up the next morning at 6 a.m. and go work out, and then 6 a.m. rolls around and you hit snooze, right? That basically happened to me. And this lack of inspiration really typically happens during the weekend. Usually I have 1 or 2 cheat meals where, I order out, and usually those meals have meat in it, whether that's getting a burger or getting some fried chicken. And so one weekend I was like, okay, this is a time to try the Impossible Burger. And if you haven't heard of that, that is a vegan burger where it's plant-based protein, and it's supposed to be a great substitute for the real thing, a real beef burger. And I was so disappointed. A lot of people do say it does taste just like meat, but I felt at the time it wasn't comparable. A few weeks later, my cravings for meat got even more intense. Not during the week where, I was all good, I was doing my recipes and all that. It was during the weekend, the time where I'm like, I'm letting loose, I'm indulging. When hanging out with friends, that's usually when we would order out and stuff like that. And I had to be limited. I was like, guys, I can't eat meat. I have to stick to vegetarian. And when I saw my friends eating meat, there was immediate envy. I was like, this is so good, I'm missing out. I can't wait to have this month over. But you know, the weeks came and went, and before I knew it, I was at the end of my vegetarian journey. And in terms of how I felt, I think the feeling of lightness definitely was normalized. It didn't feel like, ooh, this is such a good feeling anymore. I was just like, all right, this is my new state of being. But I stepped on the scale and I was about 2.5 pounds lighter. But the biggest thing for me was I still craved meat as my comfort food. And so the day after my vegetarian commitment was over, I got a big, large pepperoni pizza, which is something I've always loved since I was a kid. Loved as much pepperoni on that pizza as possible. And so I got that. And when I ate it, I was disappointed. It didn't feel like I was eating anything sweet or good. It didn't give the same effect of like, oh, this is good. It was like going back to eating that Beyond Burger and feeling like it just wasn't enough. And I was like, okay, well maybe it was just, you know, like a bad pizza. And so the next night I had some orange chicken. I love Chinese food. It's one of my favorite cheat meals. And when I ate the orange chicken, which I've always loved, it again was disappointing. And I kept eating it and I was like, maybe I'm not getting enough sauce, whatever. But you know, it never got to a point where I was like, oh, this is really, really good. And I was disappointed, but it also got me realizing something very important when it comes to food and addiction to eating certain types of food. And that is maybe the pleasure that came from eating them was the addictive components from eating them and not the inherent like tastiness of that food. And I think this could be really helpful for those of us that are trying to eliminate unhealthy, addictive foods from our diet. Go for a month without that food, knowing that you can always go back to that food at some point. But in doing so, you get rid of this addictive pull. You'll be less likely to have that food as your go-to. And thinking back, I think I did the same thing with my obsession with chocolate. If any of you guys watch my video of my experience with anxiety, I used chocolate as a way to feel comfort and relax from a long day at work. And I remember deliberately thinking each week, all right, I am not gonna buy cookies, I'm not gonna buy chocolate for this week's groceries. And I did that enough times that I no longer looked at cookies at the store or chocolate and thought, oh, I need that. You know, I got rid of that addictive tendency towards chocolate. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think chocolate is delicious, but it doesn't have that addictive component to it anymore. Now, in terms of meat, will I ever go back to eating it or, you know, have some in my diet? Probably. You know, if someone's serving it at their house, it's in a dish, I won't refuse it. But the important part is that I won't be actively seeking it, which in the long term will only have great health benefits. But hey, I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below whether you want to see a video on the health benefits of going vegetarian, and I'll for sure make that video for you guys. But anyways, that's it for this video, and I will see you next time.